Welcome back to the podcast. This is another episode here. This is going to be Confidence Part 2. And so we're just going to carry over from that last episode. And this is another thing that relates to confidence. And it's something that we really need to be aware of throughout every game that we're in. And it starts even before the game begins. And it has to do with momentum and confidence and how they're related. And in my mind, momentum equals confidence. And I'll give you a couple of examples of how it can work both ways, both negatively and positively. And so you're in the game and your first at bat, you get a base hit up the middle. That automatically sets you into positive momentum for your second at bat. Right? It automatically is instilling confidence in you as soon as you see that ball off the bat and as soon as you see that you're safe for a nice base hit to start off the game. And so think about that. Think about how that first at bat can affect you positively or negatively. And if that first at bat's a strikeout, how do you feel going into your second at bat, right? And so that's momentum, guys. And so we need to understand momentum and how that can work not only as a player and for yourself individually, but for your team. And it's really, really powerful too. And momentum is one of those things you can't really describe. You can't put a stat to that. You can't put a stat to momentum. It's a feeling inside of you. It's a feeling in the air that every player has, every team has. You feel these momentum shifts and swings in the game, and that is absolutely what's going to cause teams to either crumble in tough situations or propel to success. And so momentum equals confidence. We need to understand that. Think about how this relates in your game right now, personally and for your team. Right? Think about your last game that your team had that was a bad game. Think about the last game you guys had that was a good game. And think about that feeling of momentum. Think about how one thing led to the next, led to the next. One of the most common examples for a team is playing defense when one error turns to two errors, turns to three. And a lot of the times we go through 1 inning, 2 innings, 3 innings, maybe with no errors. We're rolling. And then all of a sudden, that fourth inning rolls around, and as soon as one error happens, and then especially two, and after that second one, the momentum shifts, and that's usually when we find these innings going for 4 errors, 5 errors, and unfortunately, that's what's going to cost us the game. And we've been on both sides of it. We've done it ourselves for our own team, and we've been against teams where we've seen it happen too. Think about how it relates to hits, right? Think about how many innings you can think of where you had the most hits as a team, and just think about how that momentum had to do with everything. Right? I can think of plenty of games that I've coached and played in where maybe it took us 3 or 4 innings to finally get our first hit, and then all of a sudden when we get that first hit, here comes 3, 4, 5, 6 hits in one inning alone. Right? Think about those big innings with tons of runs scored. Think about those 8-run innings, those 10-run innings, right? And that's momentum, right? Think about how your game style and your playing style in particularly changes when momentum changes. Think about how much you loosen up in the box when you're up to the bat. All of a sudden, when your team's already scored 5 runs that inning, right? Doesn't it feel like a bonus at that point? Right? Don't you feel a little bit different going to the box? Like you don't have to now, there's not all this weight of the world on your shoulders when you're going up to the batter's box. And again, momentum. The momentum and the confidence and how they're both totally interconnected have so much to do with the outcome of the game. It's not mechanical. That's not something that you learn in the batting cage. That's not something that you spend a lot of time on in your practice sessions. And to be honest, nor can you, right? Those are things that happen in the game and usually in the game only that you need to be aware of. You need to be picking up on these things and see how they impact you, both negatively and positively. And if there's one thing that you can take away from this is it can absolutely work in both directions, right? It's really hard to get out of the negative momentum when our team can't get off the field because we can't get that final third out. And it's much easier to stay in a flow and in a rhythm of positive momentum when our team's up to bat and the hits just keep pouring on. And it's just hit after guy getting on base, and it's just you're batting through the order, and And it's much easier to stay into that momentum once it's created. And so now realizing that, let's lead that to our next point. How is momentum created? Right? Because if we're wanting to create positive momentum, and if we're wanting to eliminate negative momentum, how is momentum created? And in my opinion, it's down to three major things. Number one, your preparation. Number two, your focus. And number three, your effort. Those three things: preparation, focus, effort. All right, so start from the top. If you want to be able to create good momentum, you've got to be prepared for the game. Right? You've got to be able to set yourself up for success by being prepared. Right? So you're fully loose before the game. You're fully mentally ready before the game. You're having the right mental thoughts when you're on deck before you're at bat. Right? You're trusting the things that you worked on and prepared for in practice. And you're not throwing all those things out the window. You're relying on them. Right? You've built trust in the reps that you've put in. So preparation. Number two, focus, right? You're locked in mentally to the tune of the game. You're in the present moment. You're not worried about next game. You're not worried about what happened last game. You're not worried about your homework due tomorrow. You're not worried about the homework that you forgot to do yesterday. You're not worried about the test on Friday or the one you failed last Friday. You are absolutely in the present moment. You're focused. And so focus, right? If we really boil this down, the ability to focus better has everything to do with being able to eliminate the things that distract our focus. So the distractions can be the number one focus killer. Eliminate distractions. And so just to give you an example, how are we going to eliminate distractions? Well, number one, we stop worrying about the things that don't really affect us and the things that don't really matter, especially in the game. When you're up to bat, the score does not matter. When you're up to bat, the number of outs usually don't matter more times than not. I know there's certain situations where, hey, no outs, guy on third base, let's hit in the outfield, sac fly, right? That's going to be something different. But more times than not, when you get a pitcher on the mound and it's ball's out of hand and it's time to square this thing up, that's really your true job 99% of the time. Hit the ball in the middle, square the ball up, be on time, have good timing and put a good swing on it. Those are the things that you're trying to. Those are the things day in and day out basis that you can control. And so to be more focused, eliminate distractions. Right? Eliminate the things that are causing your focus to shift or sway or not being able to really lock it in. So again, number one, preparation. Number two, focus. Number three is effort. And this is probably the biggest one when it comes down to it. You've got to put in the effort. And sadly, not everyone's going to give 100% effort on the field. And so think about that. If not everyone's going to give 100% effort on the field, and you do, you're already at an advantage. You're already at an advantage just by giving 100%, because not everyone will. Sadly, that's the truth. But if you can realize this, take advantage of that. Right? Take advantage of the fact that there's other guys out there slacking. Take advantage of the fact that you can pounce on an opportunity just by giving more effort than the guy that you're going up against. And so I think you hear it all the time. And it's very obvious, but it is the reality of it. And so preparation, focus, effort. Right? Keep beating those things in your head. It's stuff you know. It's stuff you know how to do. It's just stuff that you've got to execute on. Right? Execute on the simple things. Be prepared. Be focused. Give your effort. And at the end of the day, if you do those three things, you can live with the results so much more easily. I promise you. It's so much easier to be able to say, yeah, I went 0 for 3 today, but I left it all out on the field. Right? I did not have one drop of gas left in the tank when I was done. When you do that, you can sleep at night. Or when you do that, you can be satisfied with what you put on the field, regardless of the result, regardless of the score. And we're going to get into quality at bats and the importance of evaluating yourself on quality at bats in a different episode. But the things we're talking about will lead into that. It's so related. So I'll leave it with that. Momentum is confidence, preparation, focus, effort. That is how you create good positive momentum. And so really try to focus on those things. And I promise that over time, it is going to absolutely pan out for you. Thanks for listening, guys. Stay tuned for the next one.